All right, motion trackers on, everyone, because we are going deep, deep into Sevastopol for this one.
Going deep.
You sent in some research on Alien, Isolation,
Yeah.
specifically Mission 14, The Descent. And, all right, I can handle a good scare. I can handle some jump scares. But this is like next level
Yeah.
stuff from what I'm seeing.
Absolutely.
Like, this is where the game goes from, ooh, that's creepy, to, I need a new pair of pants.
This is where the game takes a turn, I think would be a good way to put it.
Okay.
It's a turning point, definitely, in
Yeah.
terms of the atmosphere and the challenges that you're going to be facing.
Yeah, the research here mentions the xenomorph nest, and this isn't like, some cozy little birdhouse. This is like full on, like H.R. Geiger designed this thing, pulsating walls, flickering lights. It's like the environment itself is like, get out.
And it's completely intentional.
Okay.
That's one of the things that Alien Isolation does so well, is it uses the environment to really evoke that classic feeling of dread, that classic feeling of vulnerability.
Yeah.
And just thinking about the Alien franchise in general, it plays on our fear of the unknown. It plays on our fear of being hunted.
Oh,
The
absolutely.
fear of being completely outmatched.
Yeah.
And that's what that nest embodies. It's this oppressive presence.
Okay, I'm getting chills just thinking about it.
Yeah.
And to make matters worse, this is where the game is like, hold my beer, because it throws not one, but multiple xenomorphs at you
At the same time.
at the same time. Oh,
Yeah.
plus, as if that wasn't bad enough,
Just for fun.
just for fun, we've got the face huggers just hanging out.
Hanging out, yeah.
So not only am I having a panic attack just looking at this nest, I've basically got an all-you-can-eat buffet chasing me around.
It ramps up the tension to 11, there's no doubt.
Oh, yeah.
The gameplay has to shift. You have to think a lot faster on your feet.
Okay.
You have to really rely on stealth, and you really have to strategize your approach to this level in a way that you haven't had to in previous levels.
All right.
It's really a juggling act, keeping yourself hidden, managing your resources,
Yeah.
hoping to God you don't trip over that pipe at the worst possible time.
Which, knowing my gaming skills, is a very real possibility.
Of course.
But it's not just running and hiding.
Well,
The research also mentions something about solving puzzles within this machinery to purge the nest. So
yes.
let me get this straight. I'm being hunted by essentially like the perfect organism. I can barely see where I'm going, and I have to stop and do math.
You got it. That's just not fair.
It's a testament to the developers, I think. They wanted to keep the pressure on you, and they could have made it a lot more straightforward, just a straight run and hide, maybe a little bit of action. But throwing those puzzles at you,
Yeah.
it forces you to use a different part of your brain. It really makes it a test of your ingenuity and your resourcefulness.
And just when you think you're safe, just when you're like, okay, maybe I can catch my breath,
For 1 second.
bam! Working Joes.
Oh, yeah.
Coming at you, fresh from their latest attempt to, end you.
Of course. Of
Like the game saw you thinking about maybe, I don't know, taking a sip of water, and it's like, not today. It's like, nope, not going to happen. That escape, after everything you've just been through, it really is this heart-stopping scramble to get to the Anesidora, and you're drained, you're terrified.
Oh, yeah.
But there's this glimmer of hope that you may have just found a moment of respite.
And remember, through all of this, Amanda is still trying to find Taylor and Marlowe.
She is, that's right.
Talk about a stressful work environment.
Oh yeah, just another day at the office.
Right. It's like the worst office party ever, but with, more face hugging.
A little more face hugging, yeah.
Yeah, it just makes you question how much one person can take.
That's a good point. And that's where things get really fascinating when you start to look at Amanda's story arc, which we'll get into after this.
So we left Amanda reaching the Anesidora after that, I don't know what to call it, other than just completely terrifying mission.
Stressful day at the office.
Right. But you mentioned something about Amanda's story arc before. What did you mean by that?
Yep.
Like, is there a hidden message about the dangers of space travel I somehow missed?
Well, not exactly, though I'm sure someone somewhere has probably written a thesis on that very topic.
Right.
But what I find really fascinating is how this mission, the descent, it's not just about, running from xenomorphs and dodging face huggers.
Okay.
It actually mirrors Amanda's entire journey throughout the game.
Hold on. I think I understand what you're saying.
Okay.
But maybe dial it back just a little bit, like, explain it to me like I'm a xenomorph who only understands eat and hide.
Okay, fair enough. So think about it, Amanda. She's constantly facing these impossible odds.
Oh.
She's having to rely on her cunning, her intelligence, her strength to survive these encounters, I mean, these are encounters that would make, the most hardened space Marine pee their pants a little bit.
Yeah.
And this mission throws everything at her.
Yep.
It tests her limits, and in a way, I think you could argue it forces her to descend into the darkest parts of herself just to survive.
So when you say darkest parts, we're talking that primal instinct to survive.
Exactly.
Like, if I was in that situation, I'd probably be hissing at the walls by that point, hoping they'd take pity on me.
It's about what happens to a person when they're pushed to those extremes.
Yeah.
It really ties into the game's themes of fear, of isolation, the limits of what humans can withstand.
It's all there in one terrifying, experience. And don't forget about how they use the environment to make all of that worse.
Yeah.
We talked about the nest.
Right.
But even just those hallways, those corridors, the lights are always flickering. You always feel like something's watching you.
And you never feel safe.
It's all claustrophobic.
And that's intentional. That's alien. Isolation, at its best, it's a masterclass in using the environment to tell its story. Every little creak, every little sound cue, it adds to that tension. It makes it relentless.
Speaking of relentless, the notes that we got from the listener mention how this mission specifically kind of throws a wrench in the typical strategies that you might use.
Oh, for sure.
Something about you can't just rely on stealth anymore.
Well, yeah. I mean, up to this point, you could get by with being cautious. You could, pick your moments. But Mission 14, it forces you to change. You have to adapt.
Okay.
You've got multiple xenomorphs, and their patrol patterns, they're not always predictable.
Yeah.
You got those face huggers just waiting for you to make one wrong move.
Yeah.
And then the working Joes, I mean, they are relentless. You have to think on your feet, and you have to be ready to switch tactics in a heartbeat.
So it's less about finding the perfect hiding spot and more about being able to improvise on the fly.
That's it. Yeah, you have to use everything.
Wow.
Your tools, distractions, the environment, everything.
Oh, yeah.
It becomes this deadly dance.
Okay, I'm starting to see why our listener wanted to do this deep dive.
A lot.
But we keep talking about Amanda, we keep talking about her story.
Right.
How does this mission, how does all this chaos actually affect her character in the long run?
Well, remember, she's still trying to find out what happened to her mother. She's still clinging to that hope that she might find Taylor and Marlowe.
Right, they've been her motivation this whole time.
Exactly.
It's like looking for a decent cup of coffee on a space station.
Right?
It's got to be here somewhere. You just got to get through all this other stuff first.
Exactly. And this mission, with everything that it throws at you, it really reinforces just how important all of this is to her.
Yeah.
It really makes you ask, how far is she willing to go? What lines is she willing to cross? Is there a line?
It's like the deeper she goes into Sevastopol, the more she gets sucked into this fight for survival. And you start to lose track of where the fear ends and where she begins.
That's a really good point. That internal struggle, that question of how much can one person withstand before they break,
Yeah.
it's reflected in the title of the mission itself, The Descent.
Oh, wow.
It works on multiple levels. It's literally her going deeper into the station.
Right.
But it's also her going deeper into herself.
Okay, chills, literal chills right now.
Yeah, powerful stuff.
Yeah, the developers, they knew what they were doing.
Oh, yeah.
But then she reaches the Anesidora, still no closer to finding Taylor or Marlowe. It's like finally getting a break,
Yeah.
only to realize you're still stuck on the same sinking ship.
It's that feeling of, you're so close, but yet so far.
Yeah.
And it just makes you wonder what's going to happen next. Will she find the answers that she's looking for? Or is this just the beginning of a whole new nightmare for her?
It's almost like you're right. Even knowing she's made it to the Anesidora, even knowing she's found a little bit of, I don't know if I want to call it safety, but a little bit of a break in the action, it still feels like something's going to come out of the vents and grab her.
The other shoe's going to drop.
Yeah, exactly. That's a much better way to put it.
It's that pacing, though. It's that masterful control of pacing and tension, because you get those little breaks.
Right.
But it never really lets you relax. You're just as terrified when nothing's happening as when everything's happening.
It's like being home alone at night.
Oh, yeah?
And you hear a noise. Logically, it's probably nothing.
Probably the house settling.
Exactly, but a part of you is like, but what if it's not?
What if it's the xenomorph?
Right, and in this game, it usually is.
Yeah, 9 times out of 10, it's going to be a xenomorph.
And it always gets you when you least expect it.
Always.
But that just makes me think about, we keep coming back to this idea of not just the physical threat.
Right.
But the mental, the psychological aspect.
The toll it takes on you.
By the time she reaches the Anesidora, I don't even know if I'd be able to, like, form a coherent thought.
Most people would broken by that.
Oh, for sure.
They wouldn't be able to handle it.
So what is it that keeps her going?
I think it's that hope.
Okay.
It's that sliver of hope that she might find Taylor, that she might find Marlowe,
Right.
that she might escape this.
Yeah.
And it's what drives her, but it's also, it's a double-edged sword.
How so?
Because hope can also blind you.
Okay.
It can make you vulnerable.
So it's what keeps her going, but it could also be her downfall.
Exactly.
Wow. Okay, so as we kind of wrap up our look at Mission 14,
Yeah.
if you could only use one word to describe this, what would you say?
Transformative.
Okay, expand on that.
It's not just a mission. It's not just about, getting from point A to point B.
Right.
It's about what happens to Amanda along the way, how it changes her.
So the descent isn't just about going deeper into the station, it's about going deeper into Amanda's psyche.
Exactly. It's about what she has to do to survive, what she has to become.
And sometimes that's the scariest thing of all.
Absolutely. Sometimes the monsters we create within ourselves are far more terrifying than anything we could encounter out there.
I think that's a good place to stop, because now I'm just completely terrified.
As you should be.
Well, to our listener out there, good luck. You're gonna need it.
You've got this. I believe in you.
We'll see you next time as we take another deep dive into whatever terrifying topic you throw our way.